Here is a number that should bother you. 53% of Americans have less than 3 days of emergency supplies at home right now. Not 3 weeks. Not 3 months. 3 days. And most of those people, most of us, feel completely fine about that because nothing bad has happened yet. But here's what I want you to think about. The disruptions that undo ordinary life are almost never the dramatic ones. They are not earthquakes or hurricanes or total grid collapses. They are 3 bad days in a row. A fuel shortage that lasts a long weekend. A power outage that stretches from Tuesday to Friday. A run on a single product that empties every shelf within 24 hours. Nothing cinematic. Just the ordinary world, slightly broken, for slightly longer than you expect. And right now, in the spring of 2026, there are specific reasons the timing of this matters. New tariff rounds are affecting imported goods. Supply chains that were rebuilt after COVID are being stress tested again. And if you have been paying attention at all to energy markets and shipping routes in the past 90 days, you know that the margin between normal and disrupted has gotten. May 5th is not a doomsday date. It is simply the moment when several of these pressures converge, and when you realize you should have acted, the people around you will already be acting at the same time. That is the problem. Not the disruption. The crowd. So today we are going through 15 items. Most of them cost under $30. None of them require a bunker, and all of them are available right now before the crowd shows up. We are going to count down from 15 to 1. And I will tell you right now that number 7 on this list is the one that makes people feel genuinely embarrassed when they realize they don't have it. Because they thought they did. If this kind of content is useful to you, hit subscribe. I put out one of these every week, and I promise I will never waste your time. Let's go. Item 15. Cash and small bills. Most people in 2026 have not carried physical cash in years. Everything goes on a card, on a phone, on an app. And that works beautifully, right up until it doesn't. Here is what actually happens in the first hours of any significant disruption. Power goes down, cell towers get overloaded, and payment processing networks begin to fail. Card readers at gas stations stop working. ATMs go offline. And if they don't go offline, they run out of cash because everyone who just realized the same problem shows up at the same time. During the 2021 Texas winter freeze, ATMs in affected counties ran dry within 36 hours. People had money in their accounts. They just could not get to it. What most people get wrong is thinking that one large bill covers this. It does not. If you hand someone a $100 bill for $20 of gas and they cannot make change, that transaction does not happen. Denominations matter. The solution is specific and simple. $200 in mixed bills, mostly ones, fives, tens, and a few 20s, stored in a waterproof envelope or a small Ziploc bag, kept somewhere you can grab it in under 60 seconds. Not in your wallet where you will spend it. Separate. Dedicated. Untouched. In 2023 alone, banking outages at major U.S. institutions affected over 12 million transactions in a single quarter. Digital systems fail. Physical currency does not need a signal. Cash is not a relic. When the system goes down, it is the only thing left that still works between two people. Have it before you need it. Item 14. A written emergency plan. This item costs nothing. $0. And it may be the most important thing on this entire list. Here is the thing about supplies. Supplies are inert. They just sit there until a person makes a decision about them. And when stress hits, real stress, not the movie's version, people do not make clear, fast decisions. They freeze. They disagree. They ask each other what to do, and neither one knows the answer. FEMA research suggests households with written emergency plans recover and reunite significantly faster after disruptions. The difference between households that move confidently in a crisis and households that spiral is not the number of flashlights they own. It is whether someone wrote something down before things went wrong. What most people assume is that everyone in their household just knows what to do. They do not. When the power goes out and the phones are dying and there is no information, the people you love are going to look at you. And if you have a plan, a real, written, laminated, on-the-fridge plan, you will be able to give them a direction instead of a guess. The plan does not have to be long. 1 page. 3 meeting points: inside the house, outside the house, outside the neighborhood. 5 phone numbers: a local contact, an out-of-state contact, the non-emergency police line. 3 rules: who does what in the first 30 minutes? According to FEMA's National Preparedness Survey, approximately 72% of American households have no written emergency plan whatsoever. You can be in the other 28% today, for free, before you finish this video. And by the way, stay with me, because item 7 on this list is the one that gets people every single time. You think you already have it handled. You probably don't. Item 13. Fuel. Before you run out of food. Before you run out of water. Before almost anything else becomes a problem, you lose access to fuel. Not because it disappears. Because too many people need it at the exact same moment. This is not a theory. In May 2021, a ransomware attack on the Colonial Pipeline took 5,500 miles of fuel infrastructure offline for 6 days. It was a software problem. No oil was physically destroyed. But within 48 hours, gas stations across 17 states in the Southeast were running dry, not from a shortage, but from a wave of human behavior. People saw the news, they acted, and the system could not handle the volume. What most people do wrong is wait until the gauge is near empty before they fill up. On a normal day, that is completely reasonable. But when there is any visible sign of instability, a spike in gas prices, a news headline, even unusual lines at a station, that habit puts you directly behind millions of other people who are all doing the same thing at the same time. The solution does not require a stockpile. It does not require jerry cans in your garage. It is one habit: never let your tank drop below half. That is it. When it hits half, you fill it. No urgency, no drama, no waiting in line. One person I know has done this for over 20 years. Not as a prepper. Just as a person who decided a long time ago that he did not want to be dependent on a gas station being available at the exact moment he needed it. He is never in a crowd. He is always already done. The distance between you and that crowd is not money or resources. It is one simple habit, started today, before the crowd forms. Item 12. Headlamp. A flashlight gives you light. A headlamp gives you your hands back. That sounds like a small difference. It is not. The average US power outage in 2023 lasted approximately 6.5 hours. That is not long enough to feel like a disaster. It is long enough to need to cook, to check the breaker, to find medicine in a cabinet, to help a child get ready for bed in the dark. All of those tasks require both hands. A flashlight means you are holding one thing while trying to do another. A headlamp means you can just do the thing. What most households get wrong is owning one shared flashlight. One is not enough for 2 reasons. First, it is probably not where you think it is. Second, when the power goes out, more than one person needs to be able to move independently and safely. A modern LED headlamp runs 40 or more hours on a single set of AA batteries. A good one costs between $15 and $30. You need at least 2. Here is the rule: every adult in the house has their own headlamp. It lives in the same place every time, a specific drawer, a specific shelf. Not a junk drawer. A designated place. Because when the lights go out, you do not have time to search. Keep the batteries separate from the headlamp if you are storing it long term. Batteries left inside can corrode and ruin the device. Store them in a small Ziploc bag taped to the side of the unit. Now I want to pause here for a second. We are 3 items in, and I want to make sure you are not just treating this like a shopping list. The items I am about to get into, items 11 through 6, are where most people think they are covered, and they are not. Pay attention. Item 11. Backup power/power bank. Your phone is not entertainment during an emergency. It is your communication line, your map, your flashlight backup, your news source, and your way of telling the people who love you that you are okay. And a modern smartphone, under emergency conditions, screen brightness up, LTE active, constant refreshing, lasts approximately 4 to 6 hours on a full charge. Think about that. If the power goes out at 6 p.m., your phone could be dead before midnight. A 20,000 milliamp hour power bank, costs between $25 and $40. It can charge a modern smartphone 3 to 4 full times. That is a full extra day of communication capacity sitting in your bag or your nightstand, if it is charged. That last part is the problem. Most people own a power bank. It is sitting in a drawer somewhere at around 30% charge. When they reach for it in an emergency, it is not ready. An uncharged power bank is not preparation. It is the feeling of preparation without any of the benefit. The fix is embarrassingly simple. Pick one day of the week, Sunday works well, and charge your power bank, whether it needs it or not. Full charge, every week, without thinking about it. When you need it, it is ready. No decision required. If you want to go one step further, a small solar charging panel that folds flat costs about $30 to $50 and can maintain a power bank indefinitely in daylight conditions. That turns a 24-hour solution into a multi-day solution for under $60 total. Keep your connection. Keep your information. Keep your options. Item 10. Mylar bags and oxygen absorbers. This is the first item on this list that almost no mainstream preparedness video talks about, and it may be the highest value per dollar item on the entire list. Most people who think about food storage stop at canned goods. Canned goods last 2 to 5 years. They are heavy, bulky, and not particularly calorie dense. They are fine. But there is an upgrade that costs about $15 and extends the shelf life of rice, oats, lentils, pasta, and dried beans from 2 years to 25 years or more, with no loss of nutritional value. Mylar bags are heat sealable, puncture-resistant metallic pouches originally developed for space food applications. When you combine a 1-gallon Mylar bag with a 300cc oxygen absorber, which costs about 25 cents, and seal it with a clothing iron or a hair straightener, you remove all oxygen from the environment inside the bag. Bacteria, mold, and insects that cause spoilage need oxygen to survive. Without it, they cannot. What most people get wrong is storing rice or oats in their original paper or thin plastic bags. Those allow moisture and oxygen in over time. You are losing shelf life every single day. Rice stored in Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers has been lab tested at over 30 years of storage with nutritional profiles. For $15 in bags and absorbers, you can convert a 25-pound bag of rice into a food asset that will still be usable in 2051. Buy the bags. Seal the food. Label the date. The rest takes care of itself. Item 9. Toilet paper. Yes, it is on the list. And yes, it belongs here. I know you remember March 2020. The thing is, most people remember it as a weird cultural moment. A panic buying joke. What they do not remember is that the toilet paper shortage in the US lasted nearly 6 consecutive weeks. During that period, Nielsen data showed it was the single most purchased item in America for 6 straight weeks. Shelves in over 70% of US stores were empty within the first 2 weeks of the COVID-19 disruption. That was not a supply chain collapse. Manufacturers were actually producing more toilet paper than ever during that period. The problem was that the distribution system, built for steady, predictable demand, could not handle a sudden spike from millions of households acting at the same time. That will happen again. Not with toilet paper specifically, maybe, but with whatever small, overlooked item everyone suddenly remembers they need at the same moment. And the households who are caught without it are not caught because they were careless. They are caught because they assumed it would always be available. The rule is simple. When you open your last package, that is when you buy more. Not the last roll. The last package. That single behavioral shift keeps you permanently 2 to 4 weeks ahead of everyone else. And a practical tip, do not keep all of it in one place. Split your supply across 2 locations in the house. That way you never have a moment where you think you have plenty and realize you are actually on the last roll. Not a dramatic item, but its absence is a daily, uncomfortable reminder of everything that is not working. Item 8. Lighter and matches. One evening, the power goes out. It does not matter why. The house goes dark, and within a few minutes, someone asks for something hot. Hot water. Hot food. Anything. You go to the kitchen. You have a gas stove. The burners are fine, Gas stoves do not need electricity to burn, but they do need a spark to ignite. And your stove igniter is electric. You turn the knob. Nothing. You try again. Still nothing. You start opening drawers. You check the usual spot. Empty. You check the backup spot. Also empty. The lighter you thought was there is not there. The matches you thought you had are gone or damp. And you are standing in front of a stove with full gas canisters and a kitchen full of food, completely unable to make anything hot. During Winter Storm Elliott in Buffalo, New York, December 2022, temperatures dropped to near zero. 37 people died, and power was out across large sections of the city for hours. People reported having food, having gas lines, having everything they needed, except one thing that could start the process. A bike lighter costs $1.50. It produces up to 3,000 sparks. A box of 250 wooden matches costs under $2. What most people get wrong is single-point dependency. One lighter tucked in one place that may or may not be there. The rule is 3. One lighter in the kitchen, one box of matches in a dry container somewhere else, and one ferrocerium rod, a fire starter that works even when wet, as a backup. Total cost, under $10. Total result, you will never be unable to start a fire. Now, I want to stop right here and say something that most channels doing this kind of video will never say. Preparedness is not about worst-case scenarios. It is about the gap between what you expected and what you got. The items on this list are not here because the world is ending. They are here because the gap between a normal Tuesday and a frustrating, stressful, exhausting Tuesday is almost always one small missing thing. And fixing that thing costs almost nothing. 2 more items on this list I guarantee you have not seen on any other preparedness video. Stay with me. Item 7. Portable stove. I told you at the beginning that item 7 is the one that makes people feel embarrassed when they realize they don't have it. Here is why. Almost everyone who thinks about emergency preparedness thinks about food. They have canned goods. They have dry rice. They have soup. They have oats. They feel ready. And they are right up until the power goes out and they realize that every single bit of food they have prepared requires heat to be edible. The electric stove does not work. The microwave does not work. And if they have a gas stove, they just learned from item 8 that it needs a spark to start. Even with a lighter in hand, an electric ignition gas stove with a pilot light system they have never manually used is a different problem. A single-burner butane camp stove costs between $20 and $35. It operates entirely independently of your home's electrical system. You turn the valve, you click the igniter, or use your lighter from item 8, and you have a full cooking flame in under 10 seconds. One butane canister runs between 1 and 2 hours of cooking time. You need a minimum of 2 canisters stored. What most people get wrong is buying the stove and never using it. A camp stove you have never operated is not a tool. It is a box. Before any disruption, cook 1 meal on it. Boil 1 pot of water. Know how the valve feels. Know how to attach the canister. Know how it sounds when it is working. 5 minutes of practice turns it from a mystery object into a reliable piece of equipment. In 2023, approximately 2.5 million U.S. homes lost power for more than 24 consecutive hours. For those households, everything on this list means more than it would in a quick 2-hour outage. A portable stove is what turns a full cabinet of food into actual meals. Without it, the food is just stored carbohydrates you cannot eat. The 2 items remaining, items 2 and 1, are unlike anything else on this list. One of them costs nothing, and the other one is the piece most people are missing even when they think they are fully prepared. Item 6. Medicine and first aid. Most medical emergencies during a disruption do not start big. They start with a fever at 10 p.m., a cut that will not stop bleeding, an allergic reaction, a child with an earache, things that on a normal day would send you to a pharmacy for a 10-minute errand. During a disruption, that 10-minute errand can become impossible. You cannot drive if fuel stations are closed. Pharmacies may be inaccessible or out of stock of basic items. And even if you can physically get there, crowds and limited stock mean you are depending on luck rather than preparation. What most people get wrong is that their household medicine cabinet is a collection of random items accumulated over years, some expired, some incomplete. When you need it quickly, under stress, in the dark with a headlamp, you do not want to be digging through 15 items to find the one you need. The solution is a single bag. One labeled, zipper-sealed bag that contains ibuprofen, acetaminophen, an antihistamine like diphenhydramine, a thermometer, bandages in multiple sizes, antiseptic wipes, gauze pads, medical tape, and a pair of disposable gloves. That covers approximately 90% of household medical situations that do not require a doctor. The whole kit costs between $25 and $40 assembled from scratch, or you can buy a pre-made version and supplement it. More than 46 million Americans are underinsured or uninsured. For those households especially, access to basic over-the-counter medicine during a disruption is not a comfort issue. It is a health issue. A small, stocked, organized first aid kit does not replace professional care, but it keeps small problems from escalating into large ones while you wait for conditions to normalize. Keep it in one place. Tell every adult in the household where it is. Check expiration dates twice a year. When the clocks change is an easy way to remember. A fever that goes untreated for 48 hours is a different problem than a fever treated on hour 1. The kit makes the difference. Item 5. Water filter. Water is the item that most people assume they have covered, and almost none of them actually do. Here is the scenario. The power goes out. Water pressure in your area drops. This is common because municipal water systems depend on electric pumps. Within hours, the tap is weak. You have some bottled water in the house. You use it carefully. But the human body needs approximately 1 gallon per person per day at minimum, and the USDA notes that under stress or physical activity, a family of 4 goes through a case of 12 16-ounce bottles in less than a day at minimum hydration. Then the bottles are gone, and there is still water available. Tap water that is running low pressure, collected rainwater, water from a nearby stream or lake, water that you can see, water that might be fine, water that might not be. The problem is not finding water. The problem is the decision. Do I drink this? A personal water filter eliminates that decision entirely. A Life straw filters up to 1,000 liters of water before it needs replacement and costs around $20 to $30. A Sawyer squeeze filter handles up to 100,000 gallons, functionally unlimited for household use, and costs around $35 to $50. Either one turns uncertain water into drinkable water in seconds. What most people get wrong is relying entirely on bottled water as their water strategy. Bottles run out. Filters do not, as long as there is any water source within reach. Know where your nearest natural water source is. A stream, a park pond, a rain barrel. With a filter in your bag, that source becomes safe. Okay, let me take 30 seconds and do something for those of you who joined us partway through. In the last 10 items we have covered cash, a written plan, fuel, headlamps, backup power, Mylar bags, toilet paper, lighters, a portable stove, medicine, and a water filter. 11 items. 4 to go. The last 4 are where this gets interesting. Item 4. Stored food and portion discipline. A full pantry is not the same as a prepared pantry. And this is a distinction almost no one talks about. When uncertainty hits, humans do not eat according to need. They eat according to anxiety. Behavioral economics research has documented this repeatedly. Under conditions of perceived scarcity, people consume resources faster, not slower. The instinct is to eat now rather than risk having nothing later. And the result is that a supply that should last 5 days disappears in 2. This is not a character flaw. It is biology. Your nervous system is trying to protect you. But it will empty your cabinets faster than any actual shortage ever would. What most people get wrong is storing foods they do not normally eat, freeze-dried camping meals, MREs, food varieties they have never cooked, under the assumption that hunger will make anything acceptable. Maybe. But under stress, unfamiliar food also means unfamiliar portioning. You will not know how much is enough. You will likely overshoot. The solution is the principle that serious preppers call store what you eat what you store. Keep an extra 3 to 4 weeks of the exact foods your household already consumes. Rotate them. When you use something, replace it. This does two things. It means you never have to adjust your eating habits under stress, which reduces anxiety-driven overconsumption, and it means your stored food is always fresh, always familiar, always properly portioned. FEMA recommends a minimum 72-hour supply. The Red Cross recommends 2 weeks. The gap between those two recommendations is where most families actually live, and where most families are most exposed. Start with 72 hours and build from there. Divide your portions clearly. Write down what one day of food looks like for your household. When you can see what you have in days, not just in pounds, you will manage it completely differently. Item 3. Cold storage management. Here is a rule that very few people know and almost everyone violates. According to the USDA, refrigerated food is safe for a maximum of 4 hours after the power goes out if you keep the door closed. 4 hours. A full freezer, if left completely closed, stays safe for approximately 48 hours. A half-full freezer, 24 hours. Every time you open the refrigerator door during a power outage, you are spending that time budget. Cold air falls out and warm air enters. The food inside moves closer to the temperature danger zone, 40 to 140 degrees Fahrenheit, where bacterial growth accelerates rapidly. What most people do is open the refrigerator repeatedly to check on things. They think they are being careful. They are actually accelerating the problem. And because food spoilage is invisible in its early stages, meat does not smell immediately, milk does not turn immediately, they keep consuming food that has already crossed into unsafe territory. There are 3 things you can do right now that cost almost nothing. First, freeze water in plastic bottles or quart bags and keep them in any unused space in your freezer. They double as ice packs during an outage and as drinking water once thawed. Second, own a simple cooler. A basic model is under $20. When the power goes out, transfer your highest priority refrigerated items into the cooler with those ice bottles. You have just extended their safety window by 12 to 24 additional hours. Third, own a $10 refrigerator thermometer so you actually know when the temperature inside has crossed the 40-degree threshold. 30 to 40% of the U.S. food supply is wasted annually, even under normal conditions. During disruptions, households without a cold management plan lose far more. A $20 cooler and some frozen water bottles make the difference between a manageable situation and throwing away everything you prepared. Item 2. Offline information, radio, and a printed backup. When every screen goes dark, you are not just cut off from entertainment. You are cut off from decisions. Think about what you actually need to know in a disruption. Is it safe to stay, or should we go somewhere else? Which roads are passable? When will services be restored? Is the water safe to drink? These are not questions you answer from memory. These are questions that require a live information source, and in a power outage, every live information source you depend on is gone. Your Wi-Fi is down. Your cell signal is overloaded or dark. Your TV is off. A battery-powered or hand-crank radio receives NOAA weather radio broadcasts, a federally maintained network that continues broadcasting. It runs on 2 AA or AAA batteries. A good hand-crank model costs between $20 and $50 and needs no batteries at all. But here is the part that no prepper channel covers. In 2024, approximately 96% of Americans relied on a smartphone as their primary information device. Almost none of us have more than 3 or 4 phone numbers memorized. Almost none of us own a paper map of our area. When the phone dies and the signal goes dark, we are not just without communication, we are navigationally helpless. The fix is one piece of paper. Print it, laminate it, put it on the inside of a cabinet door. 10 phone numbers, family, neighbors, local emergency services, your utility company, your doctor. Add a simple hand-drawn map of the key locations within 5 miles of your home, the nearest hospital, the nearest fire station. That paper does not need a signal. It does not need a battery. It is information independence. Radio plus printed backup equals eyes and ears when everything else is blind. Own both. Item 1. The $0 item that beats everything else. We have come all the way through 14 items that cost money take up physical space, and require you to go out and buy something. And the most powerful item on this entire list costs nothing. You can have all 15 items on this list. The fuel, the food, the water filter, the stove, the radio, every single thing, and still fall apart in the first 24 hours of a real disruption. Because the items do not organize themselves. They do not decide who uses them, when, in what order, and for whom. People decide that. And people under stress, without a plan, make slow decisions, redundant decisions, and conflicting decisions. The specific failure mode is this: everyone in the household is trying to help, and everyone is doing something different, and nobody is doing the same thing, and nobody knows who is responsible for what. That coordination failure costs time, costs resources, and costs calm. And calm in the first 24 hours of any disruption is your most valuable asset. The written household emergency action plan takes 20 minutes to create. You sit down, every adult in the house, and you answer 5 questions together. Where do we go if we cannot stay here? Who calls whom and in what order? Who is responsible for the kids or elderly family members? Where are the supplies and who knows how to use each one? What is the trigger? What condition means we act versus wait? Write those answers down. 1 page. Print it. Laminate it. Put a copy on the refrigerator and a copy in each person's bag. That document is the difference between a household that moves and a household that freezes. It costs $0. It takes 20 minutes. And it is the reason everything else on this list actually works. According to FEMA's preparedness research, households with written emergency plans are among the fastest to recover, the most likely to reunite quickly, and the least likely to require emergency services intervention. Not because they have more supplies. Because they have already made the decisions before the stress arrived. Every item on this list, from 15 to 2, is a tool. Item 1 is the operator who knows how to use the tools. Start with this one. Today. Before you buy anything else. 15 items. Most of them cost under $30. The most important one costs nothing. And none of them require a bunker, a bug-out bag, a generator, or any kind of survivalist identity. Here is the thing I want to leave you with. Preparation is not about being afraid. It is about the gap between what you expected and what you got. The people who stay calm when things go sideways are not calmer because they are braver. They are calmer because they have already made the decisions. They already know where the headlamp is. They already have the cash. They already have the water filter and the plan and the portable stove. They are not responding to a crisis. They are executing a routine. May 5th is not a doomsday date. I want to be clear about that. But it represents something real, a window of time when several supply chain pressures, tariff changes, and geopolitical variables are converging in a way that makes the margin between normal and disrupted thinner than usual. Acting before that window means acting before the crowd. Before the shelves thin out. Before the gas lines form. Before the last box of matches disappears. You do not need to do all 15 items today. But pick 3. Do them this week. The Mylar bags. The written plan. The cash. Or the headlamp, the lighter, the power bank. 3 items this week, and you are already ahead of most people. If you have at least 5 of these 15 items already handled, drop a 1 in the comments. I want to know where this community stands. And if you are starting from 0, drop a 0. No judgment. That is what this channel is here for. If this video was useful, please share it with one person who would benefit from hearing it. Not as a fear thing. As a calm, practical thing. The people around you will be glad you did. And if you want to go deeper, next week I am covering the 72-hour bag in detail. Not the fantasy bug-out bag you see on survival channels. The real one. The one that fits in a backpack, costs under $100, and handles the actual situations that actually happen. Subscribe so you do not miss it. The crowd forms when everyone realizes the same thing at the same time. The only advantage you ever have is being early. Start today.